Hi everyone, it's Chris from Stamp Blessings, and I'm coming to you live today on a Thursday because yesterday Mom and I went to go get our dresses fit for our rehearsal dinner and for our mother. Well, I'm the mother of the bride and she is the grandmother of the bride. So we have a wedding to look forward to. My daughter's getting married May 31st. So yesterday we went and got those dresses hemmed and adjusted, and I'm really excited because they are going to be beautiful. Well, today's live is all about my April's card kit. And before I get into that, though, I want to just remind you that this catalog has already come to an end. Do you know that means I've been with Stamping Up for 1 whole year now? I just can't even believe it. But this catalog runs through the end of this month, and just as a reminder, this mini catalog also is good through April. Now some things will go ahead and continue, but if you check out the last chance section, you'll get a pretty good idea of what won't be coming back. So make sure that you go ahead and leave a comment and like, subscribe to my video. I don't do shout outs or answer questions while I'm taping this, just because I get so enthralled in getting you all this information, but I do come back and I answer all questions. So today's card kit is what you will earn for free when you place a $50 order on my Stamping Up website during the month of April, and you get everything that is pre-cut. And then you just substitute the stamp set. So maybe you have a different sentiment that you want to use here. This is just fussy cut paper. I'm going to show you about that. For this card, if you don't have Delightful Wishes, that's okay. You could probably substitute a different flower and a different sentiment. So, but I'm really excited to share this kit because last month's kit with the beautiful butterflies, I thought that was going to be my favorite. But I have to say, I am really pleased at how these came out. So we're going to go ahead and go step by step, and I'm going to show you how to make these. Now, let's see. I want to make sure I get everything in the right bucket because I organize a little bit differently. I not only mail you those card kits, but I also email you the directions so that you can replicate these cards. And these come in color, but I just have a black and white printer, so it's going to help me with my measurements today. Let's go ahead and get started with this first card. And like I mentioned, it features the Delightful Wishes, and this is returning in the next catalog, so I'm really excited, and I think that you will really like this also. I'm going to leave that aside because I'm going to need quite a few things. And look here, I was so blessed to get a couple of ink pads, so I am ready. If I can get these open on camera, I'm going to be really excited. So the feature is the Perennial Postage dies, and these will continue to be available. And it's such a great set. Look at how many come with it. And I actually have the coordinating. There's one more that fits right here, and that's in one of my buckets because I wanted to show you that. I'm also featuring a lot of our 3D embossing folders. These are super. This fern is actually on the last chance, and I think it might even be discounted. I'm not sure, but this is just really a great set. And I also like the distressed tile and the exposed brick. So for this first card, I did go ahead and I first embossed my panel of the fern. And when you do that with the Stamping Up machine, you just have to use this darker plate, and that's all in the embossing folder. And you just put it through, and you get this beautiful result. So this one, the measurements are in my directions, but this is basically, a card base that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then I went ahead and I cut out 3 of the postage dies. So these measure 2 and 2 3/4, 1 1/2 by 2 3/8, and then this little one is It says 1 1/8 by 1 7/8, but I'm gonna have to double check that. It might be just the 7/8. No, that's not it either. So that would be like 1 inch. No, centimeters again. Here's my inches. Oh, I always get tricked here. Where are my inches? Anyway, I'll go ahead and double check that, but that is one of these smaller dies right here. Oh, I know, I measured it by the outside, so that's making me a little bit tricky. All right, so I'm gonna lay these aside, and on this card, for the very smallest piece, I wanted to use some of that really cool cutout from Delightful Wishes. And so I do store my dies when possible on the inside of my stamp case. I like to keep them together. So this doesn't really match anything in the set, but it adds such a great detail. So I'm gonna just go ahead and die cut that really, really quickly. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put this in. Remember that when you are die cutting, you want to make sure that you don't line up your plates 100% even, and that just allows you to go ahead and pass that through much more easily. And you'll hear sometimes that little bit of a loud snap, but that's okay. So this is just really a fun decorative piece that just gives us a little bit of interest. I'm going to set that aside. And now let's get ready to do some stamping. What I found with this branch, I feel like it's like a forsythia, right? So, and those are in bloom right now. I like to start first with the solid piece. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and put it on a smaller block. That'll let me work with it. And by doing that first, then I make sure that I have room for everything else to come. So I'll go with my lightest ink, which is the Daffodil Delight. And I'll go ahead and just get that going. And then we're going to go with the second layer with the crushed curry. And that's just a beautiful combination. This little V shaped is at the top of this branch. So we can just go ahead and go like that. And now I want to pull this off and go ahead and get the second generation to give it just a little bit more detail. And so I'll use the crushed curry for that. All right. And you can see I'm still getting the hang of this, but loving the colors, so beautiful. And now we're going to go with the crushed curry. I'm going to just leave that kind of hanging open there because I'm not doing a lot of stamping. Now I'm going to just take a minute to make sure that I am in the right spot. And I have found that it doesn't matter if it's not perfect because these just kind of add some nice dimension. So there you go. And that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. The next thing I want to do is I want to add the little stem. And then I'll come in with the leaves in the final bit. So I just come over here and peel that off. Now I've seen some beautiful renditions of this in like pinks and purples. And I have done it in pink, so, but right now because the forsythias are going so strong, that's what I've been focusing on. Now I want to take just a minute to make sure I do kind of line this up, and this blossom will fit in there and all of that. So I'm working here under the camera and my bifocals. All right, and again, woohoo, that worked out great. And one more with the little leaves. And this is Garden Green. I haven't really been telling you the colors. That last one was the Early Espresso. And now I'm coming in with the Coordinating Leaf set. So you can see what a beautiful image you get here. All right, and now I want to go ahead and make sure that I line these up. And again, they can just kind of fit around the branch and in between between the flower buds. Beautiful. While I have my green open, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And my sentiment is from Encircled in Nature, and that is one of the stamps that is going away. This beautiful set. Love it. I'm using Here For You today, where I'm just masking off the here, and then I'm going to be using the You Mean So Much to Me. So that is on the second, the middle-sized postage. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that there. And then the smallest, we did the die cutting, and now we're already ready to assemble. So that's what you're going to get in your card kit, except that you get to add the stamping. So if you have the set, perfect, or a lot of you have been kind of doing your own thing, which I love it when you share me your version of the card. So it really makes me happy to see your take on some of these things. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly assemble. Now for this one, I did pop it up with some pop dots. So that gives it a little bit of a nice dimension. And there, I managed to get some green on it, but guess what? We're going to cover that over, so no problem. You have a deboss size and an emboss side, and they're both equally lovely. Just going to put some quick glue down. And I center that. And next I want to go ahead and pop that up. And I did bring up some pop dots. Let's see where they ended up. Oh, there they are. All right, so I call this dry laying out, but I like to get everything kind of in place first before I start assembling, just so that I know what does the margin look like, where is it going to end up, do I have it kind of centered, do I like the way it looks, and that looks all right. So then I'm just going to take each piece and go from there. So these dimensionals, I was not really a pop it up kind of a person before I joined Stampin' Up, but I am enjoying them now. I'm going to go ahead and snip these little ends here, and that way nothing goes to waste. So I'm just going to go ahead and make some more of my own little pop dots here. And these work great in the corners, so I like that. Nothing goes to waste. Go ahead over here. And this one. So now I'm going to just go ahead and put it back down where it's waiting for me. Make sure I put it in the right direction. And nice. So when I stamped this one, I felt like I was up too high. So what I did is I just stamped an extra little bit of leaf. This leaf here I brought down, and it kind of draws your eye down a little bit more. So if that happens to you, don't panic. You can fix it too. All right, and I got some more pop dots. Doing that quickly. Oop, those already came off. Nice. All right. And I really like this sentiment, you mean so much to me. I'm just kind of lining it up with the bottom there and making sure that my margins are about the same. And then this is my last piece. And here I'm going to just try and get the tiniest little bit of pop going on that. So, because I want it to stand up, but I don't want it to be too noticeable. Just tuck it in there, and then the rest can be supported more significantly. And I'll put one more little piece right there. And that's how quickly and easily that first card comes together. And this one might be, well, it's not the most complicated, but it's probably the second most involved, because I have some that are quite simple. but I want to always send you a variety. And so now you just have to decide, do you want the cut to be down here or up there? And just go ahead, and here we go. So look how pretty that is. Love it. And you could use any color scheme. I just went with this because it's like Forsythia's. And if I wanted, I could go ahead and stamp my envelope to match. Well, that's already one card done. Card number 2 is featuring the Serene Love paper pack. And this is on clearance, the last chance. And I tell you what, this is such a good deal and I love it. So I've pre-cut 6 of the postage stamps. This one measures 1 1/4 each, so it's a square. So I went ahead and I cut this out 6 times, and I also cut out the little piece that looks like a sentiment strip, but then it's got the little postage edge to it. So I'm going to set that aside. That's the only stamping I have to do on this card. Isn't that crazy? And then I've pre-cut these pieces, and they measure these measure 1 1/4, and the die is actually 1 3/8. So I'm just going to go ahead and lay out my pieces. I have a Night of Navy also, and this cardstock, the Night of Navy, measures 3 by 4 1/4, and that's going to be where I layer everything on. So I could just kind of, again, lay out my little pieces. I could probably even go ahead and glue those on right now. But I like to do a little bit of a dry layout. And then I'm going to start arranging these. Now I did start to fussy cut a flower. And that was in here. Oh, here it is. So, and this one was at the very edge, so I kind of went into detail because I didn't want to waste anything. So let's see. Which one was it? Oh, I think it's this one here. So I just kind of cut this out, and I cut off that extra little leaf. But this way I'm not wasting any of my paper. And when I fussy cut for this, when it's paper, I try and stay pretty much on the line. When I'm fussy cutting a stamped image, then I tend to leave a little bit of a border. But in this case, I just like to try and go right on it. So, and I'm going to just finish that up really quickly. I tried to do most of it so I wouldn't bore you with this fussy cutting detail. But you can see when you fussy cut, the best way to do it is kind of move that paper, and your scissors basically stay, although I'm looking at it and this arm is moving too. So you'll have to do what kind of feels the most natural to you. Maybe you do a little bit of both depending on where the paper is. But there we go. That's how quickly and beautifully I fussy cut this. So now I'm going to go ahead and lay these out. And I want to have just a little bit of a break in between, but not a lot. So that way I'm keeping almost 1/4 of an inch border there for the blue. I do want the blue to show. So what I'm going to do is get this end piece situated first. And the glue allows me to get things straight before they are stuck down permanently. And so there we go. They're almost touching here, the postage dies, but not quite. And if they end up touching, don't worry about it. We know what, the example looked like, but most people don't. So whatever it looks like, they'll be like, wow, that looks great. All right, and so there already it's a little bit tight, but I wanted to have just a little bit more of a border there. But no worries, we're going to be layering on sentiment strips and flowers and all of that. Now when I laid out my paper, I wanted to make sure that no two colors were right touching each other. So that would be the main thing. So I'm going to just put this green down, and again I'm just centering it, and it fits right in there. And this comes all pre-cut to you. So isn't that wonderful? So this paper I'm going to use both sides of it. So I'm going to use the pattern down here, and then that solid, this herringbone, that's going to go up here. And I got my polka dot, and this is a little bit short, but I knew my flower would cover it, so I didn't want it to go to waste. And we've got this pretty pattern here. And here too I have both sides of the paper. And this one is going to be a little bit short, but I'm going to make sure that I cover that up. And you could even repeat patterns. So let's say you didn't like this floral, then you could just use both sides of that paper. So look at how nice that's coming already together. Now I just have to put in my flower and my sentiment. And as I mentioned, I'm going to use that sentiment, and I'm just going to mask off part of it. So let's go ahead and get that going. And I already had laid that out, but somehow, let's see where it is in the pot. It's not this one. Oh, it's right here in front of me. So I'm going to use the Night of Navy. And oh, these are good for a workout. And I'm going to leave off the here when I ink up the For You. I'm just going to do that on the edge like that, and I can check and I say, oh yeah, I got a little bit there. So let's see. And I want to keep it more towards the end. There you go. So by selectively just inking a few words, I can adjust this. So here you go, look at that, how pretty that is. And I can kind of keep changing the flower. And if I think it needs another leaf, and I do think so, so I would just go back and look at my scraps and then just cut, you know, one extra leaf. Like look at this leaf here. Let's just see how that looks when we cut it out. Because sometimes you want things in threes. And I don't need the whole leaf, I could just have it tucking out of this one corner. Yeah, and I think I like the way that is looking. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down. And you could pop this up if you wanted, that's totally up to you. Just adding some quick glue. And then I want to go ahead and tuck this little leaf in there. So look how easy and quick we just kind of brought our eye into that. So there we go. And now I just mount it on my card base, and our second card is already done. So this one probably is the most involved in cutting, because you're die cutting a lot of those postage stamps. I did find that I can easily cut 2 at a time. So, you know, definitely try that. And then I did some fussy cutting, but I really like how pretty that is. And you could add some extra little bling. So it's up to you if you want to do some sequins or like rhinestone just for a little sparkle. Just take a moment to set it down. And there we go. We've already finished our second card. And that one did shift on me a little bit, so I'm going to straighten it. That's why I like the glue. There we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. Our second card is done. All right, well, let's check the instructions and see which is our card number 3. And that is this beautiful one, which I love it. I just really like how that turned out. This too is a little bit involved, but let's get started. So you can see here in the background that I did the distress tile just to give it a little bit interest. And I used that one postage die that was missing. So this postage die is 3 1/4 by 4 and a half. So I've already pre-cut that. And then I used the Spotlight on Nature die. the circle die, and I've already gone ahead and cut that. Now I should have taken the time to pop out some of these circles, or these little doodads, and I have a little brush that I can roll back and forth that I really like to do. I have a little sponge under it, so, but I don't have to worry about this too much, because as you look at this you can see that it's covering up a lot with all those flowers. So from the Delightful Wishes stamp set, I've got this matching die that matches these flowers here. And what I really like about this card is I used this little blossom here, and I die cut it from the old olive, and I made those into leaves. So isn't that cool? I love it. Because the leaves that I had were just too big. And then I did go ahead and die cut these blossoms in watercolor paper, and I did that to give it a little bit more sturdiness, because I did stack them and then I did pop some up. So we're gonna just take a moment to go over that. You also need the Delightful Wishes vellum paper, and I pre-cut that, and then I went ahead and I used shadowed shapes and heat embossed my sentiment. And I don't know about you, but I've got oodles of these little black strips laying around, and I never get rid of them. So if you have Delightful Wishes at home, you can use this little starburst and use that to ink up the little centers of the blossoms, which is what I did here. But you might not have that, so then you can just use your Daffodil Delight yellow and go ahead and just make your own little centers of your flowers. And what you could do is just with a pen just kind of tap it down and just randomly, you know, make some little spots like the center of it. You could also watercolor the center if you wanted a more subtle effect, but this is really, really pretty too. And this might just be as easy or easier than using that little stamp now that I've done that. All right, well, let's go ahead and start assembling this card. And again, the measurements are all in my direction, so I've pre-cut this. I've die cut everything, I've embossed everything. I won't need this stamp because I just did that. And let's go ahead and start assembling. So I'll get my card base and go ahead and so my form folder is right here. So this has a lot going on this card, as you know. I've already prepared that, and that is that distress tile, which I love. And it just gives a little bit extra interest, even though this card is predominantly a white base card. When I add a little embossing, I just feel like it adds some interest to it. All right, so we're going to put that down. And then the next piece to go down is this postage die stamp, or die cut. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we center that. Now, I had some old vellum tape, but it was yellowed and it actually showed through. So what I found now that I want to do is I just put a little bit of this glue, and then I take my finger and move it around, okay? And that way it'll dry a little bit clearer, but it also doesn't show yellow through. And you really want to massage that down, because otherwise it will buckle on you. All right, beautiful. And now is my next piece. And there is one side that is darker than the other, so I can tell this is the darker side. So I'm going to put my glue on there, on the back. And again, I'm going to just take a second and massage that glue around so that it lays down nicely but doesn't really show. I'm going to come in and make sure that it just overlaps and is right like that. Perfect. All right, here we go. We're keep moving along. This is going to go on next when I assemble it, and I'm not dead in the center. I'm actually having it kind of move up towards the top. I'm just going to go ahead and set a block on this for a second to let it, you know, just kind of settle. And now I'll look at my flowers. I've got 3 of the leaves, and I'll go ahead and start gluing those down. I think while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to just snip this. And my scissors here. And I just do a little bit of a diagonal cut. You could also do, you know, a fan cut, or do it straight up and down. But I'm liking this little bit of a diagonal. I'm gonna just trim this one off yet. Perfect. So on this card I used just a note, and for this one I'm gonna use thank you. So that block did a nice job of getting things to kind of settle down. And I'm gonna go ahead and dry lay out my flowers again with my sentiment. I wanted a little bit. I want to make sure I have some greenery. Some of these bigger flowers popping out. Have this down here. So I think I'm gonna leave it like this and start gluing down, and then I can add more. I can always add more, but I can't take it away, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in, and I got it hanging off a little bit. And I'm going to pop this while we're waiting. Here we go. That way I know where to tuck things under. So I've got that clump of 3 down. And then I'm going to do the thank you. And now I can start tucking pieces in. And again, the glue lets me just quickly add it. I'm gonna just make a little bit of a pleasing look to it. I like these little pieces that are like a sideways blossom. Go ahead and get some of my green in, and I think for that I'm gonna use the tweezers. It's just gonna help me get it where I want it. And here. Later I'm going to come in and pop a flower over that cluster. So even though this is the most involved, I thought maybe that other one with the 6 postage dies is more. I guess it is. All right, now that leaves me with a couple of blossoms left over that I can pop to finish this off. These are so pretty. And that by popping just one or the other, it really adds some dimension. So pop that one, and I could even pop one down here. But I kind of like that. I think it looks all right. Yeah, see, if I could put that in there, I'm not that happy with that. So that could work. Let's just do that one because I don't want it to go to waste. There we go. All right. So here is card number 3, and I just love how that vellum is really soft, and then the popping of these little gold centers. So here you can see I used the stamp on one side, and then I just used a marker and hand dotted those blossom centers. Love it. We are on our last card of my April card kit. So when you spend $50 on my website, and I have to say that it's $50 after your discount. So let's say you ordered $75, but you had $25 credit from a previous purchase, you'd still be at $50, so you're okay. But if you drop down below that $50, it would be a little bit tricky. I do also have loyalty rewards though, so after you spent $250 with me, you get to pick out a free stamp set. All right, last card, very, very simple, very little stamping on this. It features the exposed brick. I really like how that brick texture went with the Country Flowers paper pack And I use a little bit of the country wood for this solid butterfly. For my sentiment, I used Layers of Beauty, You Make My Heart Smile. But I think for this version, I'm going to use the textured notes, and I'm going to use the sentiment, You Are Seriously the Best. So let's go ahead and get that inked up, or on the block. And I did stamp this in gray, but I didn't bring up my gray ink. So we're going to keep that in Night of Navy, and I think that that's going to look just fine. So here you can see I used the butterfly, the beautiful butterflies die for this small one. And again, I was able to punch out several of these at a time. So that's what I've done here. I've pre-cut my paper and my butterfly. And let's go ahead and ink up this sentiment, and then I can put that aside. All right, You Are Seriously the Best. Nice. And that's going to fit perfectly in there. Hopefully I didn't rock it. Nice. And yeah, that's going to look good with the color scheme, so no problem. You can change up, if you don't have the same ink that I used, you can see that it works out just fine. All right, so this is again a panel that is 4 by 5 1/4, and then I embossed it with this exposed brick. Love it. And this is a larger embossing folder, so you can go long ways or the wide way, horizontal. So I really like that. All right, we have our last card base to prepare. Well, thanks for hanging with me this long. It's always, I love coming here and kind of, you know, I feel like I'm chit-chatting with you, although I'm doing all of the talking. So sorry about that. But I try not to just jibber-jabber on and give you good ideas of what's worked for me, or you can see if I make a mistake, you know, how did I fix it? Did I just throw it away, or did I just keep on going? All right, so for this card, I did go ahead and pop those, but again, you know me, I want to dry lay it out so that I know that my margin is the same at the top and the bottom and on the sides, and that looks really good. While I've got this glue out though, I'm going to just put this butterfly together, and it gives it a minute to, I just love this texture of that country wood on that butterfly. All right, so let's go ahead and finish assembling this card. I've got a couple more. We're going to need a lot of pop dots for this one. So, and I'm going to go ahead and get started with that middle piece, because I don't know about you, but when paper has a nice side on both sides, it really makes it challenging for me to figure out which side to go with. So that's a good problem to have though, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and lock in this middle piece, and that way we can adjust our spacing. Perfect. All right, and I've got one little piece here left. And now I'll go ahead and start snipping these edges as well. All right, so make sure you do leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. Did you have a favorite card from today? How do you like this postage die set? It was one set that caught my eye right away in the beginning, but I held off ordering it until I think just right after Christmas. Maybe it was my birthday gift to me, I'm not sure. But I'm really delighted in it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that piece there. And we're going to just finish popping this up. All right, we're almost done with it. These patterns are just so pretty, aren't they? All right, for the sentiment, I'm gonna just leave it flat across here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and finish gluing that butterfly on. And there we go. And this card is done. So there you go. You can do it with, you can make this a happy birthday, you make my heart smile, or you are seriously the best. So I just love that you can use this postage die on solid colors. You can use it on pattern papers. You can stack it. And where's my last card? There we go. And you can just do so many things with it. So again, I hope that you'll find my website and place an order with me to get this set for free mailed to you. Some of you are waiting on the kit. I just finished the directions and I will be putting those out in tomorrow's mail. So thank you for your orders. I do really appreciate it. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you not next week, but in 2 weeks. Because as we're ramping up for this wedding, I've got like 120 name cards to make, and we have to figure out our seating chart. I've got table numbers to cut and assemble, so it'll be fun. All right, well, thanks again, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.